Hey, new patient group and Right Chat Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here. Welcome into Season 6, Episode 6 of Season 6, Episode 88 overall. Just getting back from a great trip, my first trip ever to Hawaii. Went out to see the great Dr. Nyack, who has come aboard with new patient group, and it was great hanging out with you, man, your family, staying at your house, going to some great meals. He and I, to say the least, have a lot in common. And boy, oh boy, did we eat some amazing, amazing sushi over there. If you're a sushi fan, I got to tell you, that was some of the best sushi I've ever had in my life. If you're not a sushi fan, probably not an area from a food scene standpoint that you would like too much. But it was a great visit, a lot accomplished, and enjoyed the team. Everything was great. Today, we're going to be talking about how your culture can transform the lives of others. And something I'm going to talk about today in regard to the culture is something that you may not have thought about, all right? We talk a lot about leadership, a lot about culture, entrepreneurism on here. Obviously, the foundation of all of your businesses out there, all of your practices out there, the foundation is the culture. It is how well your leadership skills are. It is the foundation that will implement or really dictate how everything goes in your organization, from an implementation, how good of employees you have, how you draw the right crowd in from an employee standpoint, how you repel the bad ones, how the good employees always stay, the bad ones always leave. Right? That's how the foundation of your practice will always be. But today I'm going to talk about something that you may never have thought about before, on why you should always be striving to be a better leader. You should always strive to be a better culture. Today is going to be a tribute to the great Dr. Boyd Whitlock. Boyd, hey man, recently he lost his office manager, a brain aneurysm, a really sad situation with his longtime office manager, Stephanie. I wanted to do one for you today, man. It wasn't that long ago when I saw her in person at your practice, and it just kind of shows us all how quick life can go. We can plan for retirement. We can try to do the right things. We can save. We can be great people, and then boom, you're gone. And it frustrates me a lot personally, because it seems like the ones that have those type of things happen to them are the good people, right? You don't see the scumbags, dropping like flies. You see the good people, and I'm sure there's reasons for that we'll find out someday when we're in heaven. But I wanted to do one today because I'm extremely proud of a lot of things around how Stephanie's unfortunate passing has been handled by the Whitlock team, and by us here with New Patient Group Right Chat. And I just want to talk to you today about why you should strive for an exceptional culture and things that you may not have thought about around. We all think about how a culture can help ourselves, right? If I have a better culture, my practice or my business is obviously going to be better. If I have a better culture, I'm probably going to increase my sales. We're probably going to make more money, have less headaches. Of course, all that is true. But what about the other people that you can impact in your lives outside of your organization because your culture is exceptional? That's what we're going to dive into today. You're going to love it. Hope everyone's doing great out there. Before we get started, let's fire up the music.
The chaos of owning your own business is real, but it doesn't have to be that way. In this economy, there's a better way to grow your practice and make more money while working, spending, and stressing less. And the recipe to make it happen is right here. Welcome to Season 6 of the New Patient Group Audio Experience, a podcast dedicated to forward-thinking doctors that want less headaches and more personal and financial freedom. And now your host, he's the founder and CEO of New Patient Group, co-founder of Right Chat, and a trusted speaker for Invisalign, OrthoFi, dental monitoring, and others, Brian Wright.
Welcome in over on the YouTube station. Hey there, appreciate all of you watching. Man, the podcast listens are just going like crazy. I am so thankful to all of you out there, for obviously the ones that have been listening for years, and more recently, just people. We had somebody the other day that I talked to that listened to all the podcasts, all 5+ seasons in Season 6 now, and they binge watched them, I think, in a week. And that stuff is really cool. Really appreciate it. As I was talking about on the front end, today is dedicated to Dr. Boyd Whitlock and what he and his family and what the whole Whitlock team member family inside the practice are dealing with the loss of Stephanie. I thought I'd put together one today that, we'll see where this podcast takes me today, but it is a true point and something that I was going to do this podcast eventually, but obviously this scenario that crept up, I wanted to move it up to the forefront and talk about it today. Before we dive into that, just a couple updates for you. We are working with Invisalign, and it's been a while since we've done a lot with Align technology. I'm a big believer. There's a lot of misconceptions about them as a company. My goal actually is Matt Miller, their VP, will be on as a guest next month to kind of start talking about what I'm about to talk about now is their doctor subscription program that so many of you out there are underutilizing. And the ones that are utilizing it properly are making a significant amount of money off of it. It's a great program, and we're putting together right now a 7-city event. We're going to hit it maybe back-to-back weeks where it's just a constant travel city to city to talk about mindset, talk about business owner change. One of the things that, I just met with Matt the other day. One of the things that I've talked to Align Technology as a company. I've talked to, all the companies that we speak for, Dental Monitoring, OrthoFi, others as well. I'm a big believer that it is a mistake to try to convince you all as clinicians how good something is clinically. Before you change your mindset from a business perspective, I don't think talking about how great something is clinically is going to move the needle. Like, let's say you use a different clear aligner. I don't think somebody from Invisalign, whether you go to an event for one of their clinical speakers or a rep comes in there, I don't think talking to you about how much Invisalign from a clinical standpoint is superior to whatever you're using, showcasing cases, an example. I see why companies think that's the right move to make to get doctors to change over to their side. I just wholeheartedly disagree with it. I know for a fact that if you change their business mindset, if you change your entrepreneur mindset, the organic result of that is they will use whatever clinical tool. Now, the clinical tool still has to be great. But if the clinical tool is great, they then will be open to listening to it. It's an actual backwards approach from how a lot of you as companies out there try to do it. And I'm really glad we're working on this with Align, because one of the things we talk about, one of our most sought-after presentations ever is the $2 million 2-employee practice. We're actually about to deliver the $4 million 4-employee practice. Rob Schaefer, shout out to you, man. You're going to be the face that I show at that, because I believe you're going to be the first one to achieve it. And we're going to be doing that presentation for Retainers for Life, all around the theme of is outsourcing here to stay, or is it just a buzzword? As all of you know out there, I believe it's not only here to stay, I believe it's the now, it's the future of success. I believe you only need 2 employees per 2 million of revenue that you do. We have the recipe for that. We've helped a lot of you choreograph that in your practices to get more out of your life, more out of your business, lessen the entrepreneur headaches, and heighten what you love to do, and that's being a great clinician. So looking forward to doing that event for Invisalign. Going to be talking about the retainer program. But again, the main thing I'm going to be talking about in those events, again, is changing your mindset and looking at outsourcing differently and how it can transform your business and your life. The one we're doing for Retainers for Life as well, the $4 million 4-employee practice. Looking forward to delivering that specific one for the very first time. The theme is the same, but it is a different presentation. So everybody out there, as Retainers for Life advertises that, make sure to check that one out. We'll have it in the archives on our YouTube station as well for you to check out as well. And also looking forward to all those cities that we choose. We haven't solidified them yet. We're working on that. But doctors out there that are followers of the podcast, if you want to meet me, I would love to meet you. So make sure that when Invisalign starts to advertise this event that we're going to do, this 7-city event, make sure to come join us. Introduce yourself. Have a good night out. And it's going to be great stuff. Looking forward to it. Like I said at the top, this one's going to be dedicated to the great Dr. Boyd Whitlock. There are so many things, when you look at culture, culture is not easy. One of the things that I try to do with my organizations, and I'm far from perfect, but I sure as hell try to get this installed in everybody's mind is that we're a customer-centric business, a consumer-centric business, and we're not a consultant. We're not a marketing company. Just like we teach you out there, you're not an orthodontic practice. You're not a whatever practice. you're in hospitality, you're in the people business. And what works to grow a plumber, what works to grow a restaurant, what works to grow a small business works regardless of what you're trying to sell inside your doors. Now, of course, there's tweaks and there's things that you need to understand in that specific industry to maximize its success. But I will tell you, a lot of times, the more you know about an industry, the more you screw it up. You know, the more you keep the customer mindset and how we would want you to run to get us to buy from you, the more you keep that mindset, the better, as opposed to, okay, now I'm inside the practice looking outwards at my potential customer. That's how you can get all screwed up. And really the point there of me bringing it up is inevitably we're all, you, us, really anybody in sales, is you're in a people business more than ever before. And while sometimes it's extremely hard to get a lot of you thinking that way, the inevitable, I guess, outcome when you do start thinking that way is a transformative practice. It's a transformative experience for everybody involved. But the number one thing around being a people business to really ever maximize the success is culture. And it's driving home this vision that you have with your team of customer success, of caring about the customer, of doing whatever it takes for the customer, of staying up late, going and working 10 times harder to make sure the customer gets a result that exceeds their expectations. You know, we see so many, and today is not about us, but today I am going to tell you a story of how not only we try to drive home this culture for all of you when you work with us or listen to the podcast or watch our YouTube station, but inevitably what I'm going to talk about today is something that I'm so proud of for what our team members did to help the Whitlock family go through some really, really difficult times. This isn't about us, but at the same time it is, because it's going to talk about, and inevitably the point will be made on, if you finally get to a place where all the years of hard work of building the right culture happen, yeah, you're going to grow. But inevitably, what it really does is it impacts the lives of other people, hence your customers, that inevitably were very likely to never have bought from you to begin with. And that is the ultimate goal of a great culture. It's not necessarily for you. It's not necessarily for your team. It's for your customers and how you can impact their lives that without that culture that you probably wouldn't have got to do. And the Whitlock family going through this really difficult time, it's been on my mind a lot, Boyd, just to let you know, on the years of when this happened. And inevitably I'm going to talk about some things that the new patient group team did for the Whitlock family to help them at the funeral, at Stephanie's funeral, that I hope you ask yourself, would your team do the same for your customers, your patients, if that happened, without being asked for anything, right? This was something that was just done, and I'm going to get to it. But years upon years of hard work, there's podcasts that they're going to talk more specifically about what I'm going to talk about right now. I think that you have to be a little nutso, a little crazy, a little off your rocker to actually go through 10 years as it stands today. New Patient Group has been around 10 years. Right Chat's been around 3 years. And we're so November will be our 11th year as New Patient Group. And I cannot tell you, and it's something that I'm extremely, extremely proud of, is that we have now as an organization got to a point culturally where the good employees, and you all know them, by name, the David Martins, the Haley Jeffries, the Eric Fields, who's of course also a partner in New Patient Group. You have a lot of these names as practices out there that you've seen now for a very, very long time. And all of those people that I just mentioned are on top of their game all the time, regardless of, hey, maybe their personal life isn't going great at that given moment in time, but their business success and how much they care and the dedication to make New Patient Group great and the dedication to make all of your practices great, that never wavers. And I will tell you, though, for years, it was not like that, right? For years, it was, and this is a lesson for all of you. This will be a podcast in itself. Rob Schaefer, Matt Josie are laughing at me right now, and will every time I say that, maybe forever. But the best way to keep your great employees is making sure you have things set up in a way where the crap leaves, right? And whether that means they quit or that means you fire them, whatever it means, is that's how you keep your good ones. And there's going to be podcasts, like I said, that dive far more into that. And it doesn't mean, again, I say crap. It doesn't mean they're crap. Look, sometimes people are great people. They may even end up being great for another company. They inevitably just weren't a right fit in your particular culture. And I will tell you, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands over the course of professional sports where somebody is, and this may change, but for football fans out there, look how good Russell Wilson was from a quarterback standpoint with Seattle for so long. Denver picks him up, and he wasn't very good last year. Now, that could change this year. They got a new head coach and things like that. But the point is that sometimes even the rock stars come into an existing system, an existing playbook, an existing culture, and stink it up for whatever reason. They may not feel comfortable there. Whatever reason, even though the culture is great for that existing organization, maybe they come from another organization where the culture was great in a different way, and they just feel wrong. They just don't feel in the right place. And of course, that happens to employees working in practices as well. So when I say, the crap ones leave, it's also, and of course those do exist, and a lot of those, unfortunately, but it's also people that may be darn good employees, they may be darn good people, and they just didn't fit in your organization. But the key, though, is, and so many of you, and obviously this is not what today's about, but it's more about the journey culturally that we've taken from a new patient group and Right Chat standpoint to really get to where we're in a place now to where that culture is really able to help other people thrive. And when I say that, thrive doesn't necessarily mean that it makes you more money. Of course, that's one thing. But again, thrive means have more fun, be more efficient, be more profitable. Spend more time with your kids because your business is growing and you're converting at a higher level, so you get to work less days. So thrive could mean hundreds of different things. But you have to be a little bit nutso to be the person that commits to actually accomplishing a culture that truly allows you to dominate. It's easy to say, get rid of the bad ones, keep the good ones, right? Meanwhile, you can't find anybody to work for you. And whenever you're a restaurant and you've got to be open, and to be open, you have to have waiters, no matter how bad they are. You've got to have somebody to bring the food to the table and pour water in the glass and, bring wine to the table and all that good stuff. So it's easy behind the mic to sit here and go, look, you got to get rid of the bad ones. But the reality is that the best cultures, no matter how hard this is, and this is something that I committed to for a long time, before I had a lot of rock stars on the new patient group team, before we had my vision in the culture that I wanted, before, and I mentioned a few names earlier. This is also Cynthia, our lead web designer. This is also Michael, our lead SEO guy, who all of you know. It's not just confined to the names I talked about earlier. The names I talked about earlier are the most customer-facing, but it's also the admin people that a lot of you don't know, Mandy, and the list goes on. I can't name everybody, but the list goes on and on, even behind-the-scenes people. They're so damn good and so committed to making all of you kick butt in your respective industries, your respective communities, and I'm so proud of it. But it took a long, long road and a commitment of getting rid of the people that aren't good, or getting rid of the people that, like I said earlier, that may be good, but they just didn't fit, right? And that inevitably, over the course of years, have put us into a place of a reputation. And by the way, it's not easy to have a great reputation in this industry. The podcast I did last month about compliance is a big reason why, right? Just like people don't wear their clear aligners and they blame you. Well, guess what happens whenever a doctor or a team member doesn't follow our lead? They blame us, right? And the bigger you get, the more at risk you are for those people being not the majority, but there's more of them. There's more non-compliant customers the bigger you get, just like there's more non-compliant patients the more starts you do. Right? But going back to the culture piece, compliance has a direct relation to the culture. Because, why? Because the better your team implements your vision and the better they implement the training and the sales verbiage and the presentation skills and all the things that we teach you all, well, we try to do them ourselves as well. And the better the culture, the better the people, the more those in the high level, those things are going to be implemented and done really well whenever I am not looking. And for years, sometimes you start to look in the mirror and you go, okay, what the hell am I doing wrong here? For years the culture was not that good here. We had culture killers and they probably stayed around too long. And then I would get frustrated and I probably didn't react to the situation the way I should have reacted to it. And it's one of those things as a leader, it's like a parent, right? There's no, I'll never forget the day we got Braden home after he was born. When Braden was born, he was only like 4.5 pounds and, he was in the NICU for about a week and he wasn't premature, but he was preterm. He was really, really tiny. And it was just kind of a weird experience seeing him come out so small and blah, blah, blah. But we got him home and, he's still in his car seat. We're carrying him in. We sit him down on the countertop in the kitchen. I'll never forget Kristen and I looking at each other and we're like, all right, what now? It's like, all right, there's no, let's flip to page 4 of our parent manual that came with it from the hospital. And obviously, the manual doesn't come with it. So it's like the more you learn and the more you push yourself to be a better parent, the better parent you're going to be. It's the same way when you're parenting your employees at the office. It's no different. What makes you a great parent at the house to raise responsible, disciplined adults, from kid into an adult that's going to produce in society. What takes you getting them there as a parent is the exact same thing it takes you getting your employees to that type of level as a leader. And it's not easy. But I remember Chris and I going like, what the hell do we do now? Like, every move you make pretty much moving forward is going to mold them into whatever they turn out to be. And if you think about it that way, that's kind of, that'll scare the crap. It's like every direction you turn in life could lead to a whole different life. Every decision you make can lead to a whole nother life. It's the same way with your kids. Every decision you make in regards to them, can lead them down a path of doing something different in their career, marrying somebody different, whatever it may be. The point to that is it's the same way from a leadership culture standpoint. There's no playbook. Like there's books and there's I guess a playbook by the sense of like the training that we have is kind of the business school side of things and the ongoing training to make sure that you're holding people accountable and you're having the tough conversation and you're being a leader, not a pushover. Matt Josie, Rob Schaefer, that I just said is a topic in itself, a title in itself, and a podcast in itself is, are you a leader or you're a pushover? And unfortunately, so many doctors in this industry, orthodontists, as you all know, that we're mostly in, but it's the same way with any other type of doctor. You let your employees run the show. It's just reality. You're one of the only professions in the planet that would ever allow their employees to dictate the outcome. And I think you do that for a lot of reasons that we will not dive into today, but we will dive in with other teachings that we teach. But there's no real, okay, I'm opening up a business. Here's my leadership and culture manual. It doesn't exist. So if you don't have an insane commitment to learning and insane commitment to be willing to just screw it up, just sometimes a pooch screw is the best thing you will ever do because it will teach you to never do it again, or it'll teach you, hey, you did it just fine. You just need eight tweaks to what you did, and it's going to be beautiful. But sometimes just screwing the pooch is the best thing for all of us. And there were several nice pooch screws along the way from how I was as a leader and the culture that I wanted. And looking back, you can't change it. You can just fix it and do your best to not recreate the mistakes, moving forward. But over time, something clicked. this constant push of, and it's true, like it's like there's this big barrier in front of you. And a lot of you as business owners know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the same way if you're reps, we have a lot of reps that listen to this, same way with your career. It's like there's this barrier, and it's a constant barrier, whether that be you're trying to get promoted, small business owners out there, you're trying to get this culture installed, you're trying to push back being $1 million practice and trying to achieve 2. It's like this constant punch, right? And if you can just imagine this big barrier and you're constantly slamming up against it, most people get tired, most people get worn out, and most people stop. And it's just the reality of life, right? If there's enough barriers in life, it's hard to keep going. It's hard to wake up the next day with an attitude that is a go-getter attitude, a positive attitude that it takes to create the right culture, to create getting the right people, to create a commitment of getting rid of the people that don't fit the culture in the playbook and going out and constantly looking for other people. And by the way, while you're doing that, you may have to work 10 times harder, right? Just because you get rid of somebody, it doesn't mean you have to hire somebody else immediately. It just means you have to work harder for a while. And guess what? That's always better than keeping the crappy person around or the person that's great but just doesn't happen to fit your organization as well. It's always better. But if you hit this roadblock enough, with enough force, and arguably not even enough force, that's part of it, but arguably more just the right form, right? It's like when you're doing bicep curls or tricep extensions, it isn't always necessarily the weight. It's the form, right? If your form is out of place, the weight isn't going to do nearly what it could do, or the repetitions aren't going to do nearly what it could otherwise do. And it's the same way here. If you're hitting it with the right form and the right force and the right repetition, over on YouTube, you can see I'm just sitting here doing it over and over again. If you do it enough, eventually those barriers that you're all running into, and the barriers are all different for all of us, right? The barriers for a Boyd Whitlock right now are obviously significantly different than they are for me personally, or a lot of you out there from a clinician owns their own business standpoint. They're different, and they're different for obvious reasons. Dr. Whitlock's, concern now is okay. I've had an office manager that ran so many things for so many years. Right now, the barriers are, how do we get past that? How do we run a smooth machine? Do I have to hire another one? Can we find a way to not hire another one? Whatever it may be. Those are different barriers. But the thing is, along our entrepreneur journey, there's a podcast I've wanted to do for a long time. Haven't done it, but I'm going to. And it talks about how the journey is always more important than the result. Because a lot of the journey you can control. You can't control the result. But along our entrepreneur journey, regardless of what type of business you have out there, it's an obstacle course. It is something that unless you've done it before and been through it before, it's really impossible for people who haven't owned their own business or several businesses. It's really impossible to fully grasp how difficult it is. And it's why so much of the percentages of businesses go out of business, a startling number. But whatever barriers you're dealing with, the most difficult barrier there is finally getting through to your team and finally getting the right people in place to where the culture you've always dreamed of is there. And it's not like, I did a podcast, I think it was last season, maybe the season before, and it talks about how to grow your business while strengthening your marriage. And the two are they're very similar for a lot of reasons. It's a really good podcast. That's one of my personal favorites. If you're a new listener to the podcast, welcome in, by the way, but make sure to check that one out. That's a really good one if you are married. It's a really good one if you're thinking about getting married, and it's also a really good one if you believe you are with somebody now from a girlfriend-boyfriend standpoint that you can see spending the rest of your life with, and you're a business owner. That's a really good one that talks about some really powerful things that, again, will help your business but also your marriage. Once you have this culture in place, it doesn't mean like the Boyd Whitlock situation or what a lot of you are dealing with out there. It doesn't mean that barriers aren't going to keep happening. They're going to keep happening.
they're impossible. This is life. And that's why enjoying the journey and enjoying overcoming these obstacles, it's easier said than done, but that's why you've got to be in a place of they're a joy to overcome rather than a headache. And I know for all of us, there's still headaches, but if you view it right, they can still be a joy along this journey of knocking one roadblock over at a time. And the better your culture, once that roadblock is knocked, and you have a team that basically coaches themselves, they discipline themselves. One of the most powerful meetings and other sports do this too, but baseball is very well known for it, is a players-only meeting. And you take the Houston Astros, who have a lot of veterans, and a lot of the veterans are still very young. You take Alex Bregman's in his 20s. Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker aren't even in their prime yet, and they would still be considered, based on their playoff experience and World Series wins, they'd still be considered. Same way with a couple of their pitchers on their staff. They're young by age, but old by experience, based on how much the Astros are constantly going to the playoffs over the past 5-6 seasons. And you get to a point where the players discipline themselves. And boy, oh boy, I cannot tell you what an unbelievable experience that is as a business owner or the ultimate leader of an organization, to know that the players, the analogy of the employees, won't put up with anything but what your vision and your culture is. Right? You don't have to, and it doesn't mean that you get to take a step back and you still don't need to be the leader, and you still don't need to innovate and strive for new ideas and new technologies and strive to constantly change, which should be the number one thing that remains the same in all of your organizations, is a culture where people are used to you changing. Right? But there is, and this will be a podcast too, all right, laugh it up, is there's a difference between change and never implementing things to begin with and giving it enough time to work, right? There's a fine line there. But when the players have these players-only meeting and they are calling out other team members for not living up to their part, whether that be, and I get these analogies make more sense if you're a sports fan, especially a baseball fan, but it may be a ground ball to short where they didn't run it out, right? They didn't sprint. They just kind of assumed, that's an out, I'm just going to jog to first, right? There are things that are unacceptable culture-wise that the players can go to the players and say, get your you-know-what together, without having the manager or whoever else on the leadership team there from the coaching staff get involved. And that's where we are now with New Patient Group, where if somebody is hired on our digital marketing side of things, or somebody is hired from a coaching situation where they help implement our VIP coaching program, whatever that may be, if those people don't exceed expectations, both on our team, right, employee facing, but also customer facing, our team will weed those people out with me not even getting involved. And I will tell you, I have never been more excited or more just at ease. I don't even think excited is the right word. Obviously, that's part of it. I just think at peace of knowing that I don't have to be on every digital marketing team call. I don't have to be looking over the shoulders of the digital marketing team. I don't have to look over the shoulders of our VIP coaches. I know that when I'm not around, they have as much dedication to exceeding expectations, as much dedication as helping to create an exceptional brand, a dedication of giving people results that you all in this industry are not used to giving, right? You all are viewed by many companies out there, and it's sickening. You're viewed as an ATM machine, right? There's so much crap out there from a digital marketing perspective. And, SEO, social media, web design stuff. There's just so much stuff that's just like, what are you doing? Why do you treat people this way? And inevitably is one of our most difficult sales, more on the digital marketing side than the VIP coaching side. But on the digital marketing side, it's really inevitably both. Like if you've had negative experiences on either side of that equation with other companies, it's going to make you skeptical. And most people out there, most of you have had horrible experiences with digital marketing companies. They overpromise and undeliver. They're always behind. Like, you have to call an 800 number. They don't know who the hell you are. Like, it's just not a good experience, both from what they're supposed to be doing, and also just like we teach you. You've got your clinical stuff, but you also have got all the non-clinical stuff, and they both have to exceed expectations. It's the same thing, right? If you hire a marketing company, a consultant, a coach, whatever the hell you want to call us, all the above, I guess, with New Patient Group, the reality is that you expect, what you're hiring us for. So if it's digital marketing, you expect those services, but it's also the non-digital marketing services, the unexpected hospitality, that's inevitably going to make or break everything it is that we do for you. And for years, I tried to install that into the New Patient Group team. And like I said, for years, there were barriers. Like, it was, okay, we don't have the right. I started questioning, is our digital marketing the way I envision it? Maybe it's my fault. Maybe it's not going to work. But I realized, no, it's not that. We don't have the right people. Because we have the right people now. And it is so unbelievable because we are able to transform the lives. And I'm just using our VIP coaching is obviously a huge part of this as well. But I'm just using the digital marketing as an example. And I'm doing that for a reason, because Haley Jeffrey, I'm about to talk about you and how proud I am of you and how much I love you and how much I appreciate everything you do, and how much or just how excited I am that I got to meet you whenever I got to meet you and offer you a job that you took. And I'm so proud of you. And one of the most proud moments I've ever had running any company in my life, I am leading all of this towards. And like I said at the front, this is not well, look at us. We've got a better culture than you. Your culture stinks. It's not what it is. And all of you that know me, and all of you that are customers of New Patient Group and or Wright Chat, you know what I'm talking about. And I mean, where how much you love David, how much you love Haley, how much you love working with Eric. These personal relationships, though, they don't just come about, right? Those happen because we have a team that passionately believes in why we exist. They passionately want what's best for you out there. And that's what a culture does. Yeah. Has it made us more money as a company because people don't leave us, or they very rarely leave us? And a lot of times they come back whenever they leave. They realize they made a mistake. Yeah, of course. From a selfish standpoint, yeah. I mean, customer retention is a huge thing that we teach, and it's a big thing that we try to preach internally. Wright Chat as well, right? So yeah, selfishly, of course, it puts us in a better position. But that's not, just like we teach all of you with our program, we're not trying to increase your production. This is such a backwards thing for people in our industry to say. We don't increase your production. We don't increase your collections. We don't increase your new patients. Those are things that organically occur because of all the other things we do. And it's hard for all of you as business owners where it's like, it's a constant bombardment at all the events you go to and all the people pounding their chests with their huge teams at AAO or whatever. It's this constant, and sometimes it's competitive. Like, I hate to lose. Second place is first loser. I can't stand this where you give a trophy for second place. No, you don't. You teach them to work harder and get better, so next time they can come in first. Like, what's this trophy for not winning crap? You want to talk about setting kids up for failure when they get out into the real world? That's it right there. But it's not about the numbers. It's about what you can do that's unexpected for your customers, what you can do that's unexpected for your employees, and inevitably setting things up that allows you the freedom financially and also from a time perspective as a business owner to get what you want out of life. Be able to spend money that you've earned on things that you truly enjoy. it's not about the numbers. It's about how you can set things up in a way to change people's lives. What I'm about to talk about, I'm also going to talk about on a podcast that I'm going to do. I didn't know if I was going to tell this story, but my brain has kind of led me into it, and I think it just goes in the right direction to show you an example of an open-minded business owner that I know, and this is talking about Dr. Nyack, where I just got back from, and I talked about on the intro. It's a situation where exactly what we're talking about, where his culture and his open-mindedness to change transformed somebody's life. And in the podcast that I'm going to talk about this on as well is how your clinical pursuit of perfection is sabotaging your entrepreneur success. And I'm going to talk about what I'm about to talk about right now. I'm going to talk about this story in that podcast as well whenever I do it. It's a great story. And this is a perfect example that will lead me into again, where we're headed today, and we'll wrap it up. So what we do with our VIP coaching program for our private clients that have our on-site program, one of the things we do is we go in our first visit and we go through a big round table with the team. We do employee questionnaires. We get their side of things. We get the doctor's side of things. We have a really cool round table, and I'm the one that goes in for that. And, we also have a day where, there's patients there so we can see what goes on. We can take a ton of notes. Then we do a big review video. We have the team and the doctor watch that video. And the next, few online sessions that we have together, we go over it. We start to implement things. We start to perfect things. We start to get some of the leaky holes that are there implemented. So when I was in Hawaii, and my body has not recovered from the flights, still sitting down for that long, is we did exactly that. Well, when they had patients in the afternoon, there was this heavier set girl in there who had and I'm sitting in the TC room with them, watching what's going on. And this girl had little to no confidence. You could tell she was probably bullied her entire life. Her teeth were the definition of jacked up. It was a bad situation. And one of the things that we got implemented, and this is for all of you, is that you need to scan every new patient with the iTero machine. The iTero machine is not a records machine. It's a sales tool. And if you use it right, it's a big sales tool. Well, one of the things that we got implemented there was scanning with the iTero machine. So they scanned her, and the TC just did her exam. We haven't worked on any TC exam stuff to this point yet. We were just kind of monitoring. And she brings up the outcome simulator, and it looks pretty darn good. Like, if you look at where this girl is today, it was a pretty darn good simulation. But I'm thinking to myself, there's a chance like she's going to need surgery, right? Like that. And that was talked about a little bit by the TC as well. And Dr. Nyack came in, and when I do the podcast I have some podcasts coming at some point that talk about some TC exam things, and they're very common mistakes that TCs make. And there's actually some very common mistakes that TCs who are now consultants in the industry teach. And they teach the mistake simply goes back to is that they're teaching sales, but they're not trained on sales, right? They're teaching something that they thought worked inside the practice. And there's a lot of mistakes that this TC was making from a lifestyle equation to just being too clinical, especially early on. That I was noticing, and she leaves to go get Dr. Nyack. Well, I do what I do when I'm in any TC room monitoring is I be my dorky self, and I start to get to know this girl, right? I start asking questions that eventually Dr. Nyack's team will ask, and a lot of your TCs of customers out there ask, that will really draw some things out of this person to really understand what their life has looked like. She, in fact, was bullied. her confidence was very low. These are things that I'm diving into her life in a way that's getting her to open up to me that she did not open up to with their TC. And I'm sitting here going to myself, there's an opportunity here for this practice to change this girl's life, literally, in all kinds of ways. Yeah, she's going to make her teeth look a lot better, but just the confidence she's going to get a better job. She's going to make more money. She's going to interview better. Her parents is going to be better. She's going to be more proud. You know, she whatever it is, like, it's going to transform it in so many ways. So Dr. Nyack comes in, does the exam, and looks at that outcome simulator and confirms what I was thinking and says, you know, this outcome simulation, we can get you there, but this is the outcome simulation with surgery, right? And starts talking surgery options with her. And eventually his exam was over and he left. And when surgery was brought up with this girl, she was crushed. I could tell she was devastated, and I could also tell she was never going to do it, right? She was, and this happens to a lot of your practices out there, and why this other Clinical Pursuit of Perfection podcast, I can't wait to do it. But this story is a example of that, but it's a point going back to culture, why I'm talking about it today. So when he leaves, and I normally don't do this, but when he left, I left. And I talked to him, and I said, do me a favor. I said, that girl's never going to buy from you, right? It's not going to happen. She's going to walk out of here, and maybe she buys somewhere else, but I'm betting my money on she just says, screw it, it's not for me. It's just another failure in my life, and she's not going to do ortho treatment. Go back in there, and I want you to hit the adjust outcome, and I want you to move the teeth to a position where you can get them if she chooses not to do surgery, and she's going to buy from you. So here's where the culture comes in, because, by the way, leaders out there, if you aren't willing to change and you're not willing to take advice and you're not willing to be coached and your team doesn't see those things as well, you do not have one chance in hell of ever creating the culture that I'm talking about today. Not a chance. It will not happen, right? You cannot say, I want you to be coachable, team, but I'm going to do whatever I want and I'm not going to be coachable. Culture's screwed. Right? And a lot of you out there have that type of culture, right? Where it's actually you're the problem. You're the problem. Now, it may not be the case for you listening out there, but a lot of you, your doctor exam is what causes people not to start. A lot of you, the way you run the business and treat your people, that's costing you starts and it's costing you good employees, whatever it may be. So my point to this, though, is how coachable you were, man. Like, you were so coachable in that situation. There are doctors, and they're usually not our customers because they wouldn't even be attracted to us to begin with if they had this mentality. They would have gotten infuriated that a non-clinician gave them advice to go back into a room and redo their doctor exam, right? And the reality of the situation is that he did it, knocked it out of the park, boom, same day start. And I will tell you, man, and all of you out there that run into the same situation, you have transformed that girl's life forever, and there's no word she'll ever be able, or money she'll be able to give you that will ever truly pay back how much you've changed that girl's life. But it was the culture and the willingness to be coached, the curiosity to learn, which I've done a podcast about the one word that you need to, the one word will basically tell you whether or not you're ever going to be a good leader, and it's curiosity. Like, if you're not curious about new things, you're not going to be a good leader, and you sure as hell aren't going to lead a good organization. You're going to lead one that has holes in it and never get to a place that I'm talking about today. You know, inevitably, because the culture was there, he was coachable, he showed true leadership by going back in and redoing it in front of his TC and giving the TC and putting her in a better position to make that sale. Same day close, by the way, which is a big part of what we're about. One of the things when I designed this a long time ago was designing it in a way, yes, to get you more starts, but inevitably designing it in a way that gets you more people to sign the contract today so you don't have to chase them down. Because chasing them down is a multi-million-dollar leaky hole in this industry, because so many people are afraid to chase people down, right? It's salesy. So they just choose not to do it, and it crushes all of your businesses out there. Podcast in itself. Another story, and you've heard his name on here plenty of times, Richard Portalupe. The very first time I was in Rich's practice, he had an Asian lady come in there and constantly say, and this is, again, on the Clinical Pursuit of Perfection podcast. I'll tell this story most likely as well. But it, again, goes back into the whole aura and story today around the real reason you should want a better culture and always want to be a better leader is the impact you will have on other people's lives that you otherwise are likely never to have if your culture is not where it needs to be. That Asian lady constantly was talking about her social six. Now, she wasn't using those terminologies, of course, but she was kept telling the TC and kept telling Richard, social six, social six, social six. I have a wedding coming up. Straighten them out, straighten out. And everything the TC and what Richard were saying was all about full case, bite, impact on your molars, all the clinical jargon, all this full case stuff, and ignoring what she was sitting there telling them. And after that exam, I talked to him and his TC, and I said, look, I guarantee you that if you call that lady back and you simply just say, look, we can straighten those front teeth and make you look beautiful for that wedding. It's a 6 month case, 7 month case. It's $3,800, whatever it is. I bet you she buys. Boom, they called her, she bought. But again, it's not that I'm right, you're wrong. It's not what this is. And any of you that know me, that's not what I'm trying to do. The point is that Richard was coachable. His TC were coachable. They were curious about the situation. They wanted to learn. And that's the culture that you will have with your team if you are striving to learn all the time and you're willing to have your team come to you and give you, the tough criticism that you don't want to hear, but you're willing to hear and change it. All of that stuff goes into creating a culture that transforms the lives of others. And two people I just told you, that Asian lady at Richard Portalupe's practice, and I believe she was Hawaiian there at Dr. Nayak's practice. Perfect example, right? There's two people whose lives are transformed that otherwise you as an organization, you two organizations never would have had that opportunity because the first one was never getting surgery, and that second one I described is never doing the full case. Not going to happen. They both would have walked. And by striving and pushing these roadblocks that are constantly in front of you over and building the right team, no matter how hard it is, and constantly stating your vision and constantly, showcasing, one of the things I used to always do, and I'm thankful that it doesn't have to be done anymore, but for years, my hours were like 5 a.m. to 2 a.m, right? One, in the early going, it was just me, and then as I built the team, I didn't trust the team, so I had to still do it, even though I wasn't doing it. And one of the things that I wanted to show as the team was building and we were getting the right people is that I don't give a damn what time it is. Like just the other day, we had a situation, Jet Pascal, shout out to you, man. His website went down. And a podcast that I have coming up is, the true sign of a great company. And it's not that you're perfect, right? Like, should the website have gone down? No, but it did. But what are we doing on a Saturday? The team, without me involved, the online marketing team is busting butt. I see our Slack channel going off that we communicate in, and communication going to Jep's practice, and boom, they got it up, right? And those right there, that is a perfect example of that's how our culture internally is helping other people, because you're not going to have a digital marketing company out there working on a Saturday. It's not going to happen, right? Not going to happen. Our team was busting it without me even being involved or asking them to, and got his website back up in no time, right? That's what culture does. That's going to impact Jet Pascal and his practices' life. Who knows? Maybe because they got the website back up, some new patient comes along that has 3 kids, and they all start there, and each kid sends a referral, and there's a domino effect. The point is, again, it's not that it's us. It's that what a culture can do for other people, your patients, your clients, your customers, whatever it may be. Employees don't want to hear numbers. They don't want you to jam sales quotas down their throat. They don't want you to jam production, collections, starts, new patients down their throat. It doesn't motivate anybody. They want to see their leader setting the tone of obsession over their customer. Again, doesn't mean you're not going to screw up as a company. Doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. But the reality is you're going to have a culture that when the mistakes happen, you're going to fix them. You're going to fix them fast. And it's very unlikely those mistakes will be made again. That's what your team wants from you as a leader, is to see an obsession over your customer. And by the way, this is a podcast in itself as well, but a way to really sabotage your culture is you nickel and diming the clinical side of your business, right? You buy the cheap supplies. You don't do great work. You tell people that they need something when they don't, right? Your team sees this stuff, and it will sabotage your culture on your business side whenever you do things like that on the practice side. Your employees need to see you obsessed over your customer clinically and non. In our case, it's the services that you're buying and also the non-services that come with it, the hospitality, how much we care, et cetera, et cetera. And I cannot tell you how hard we have worked for years to create a situation where every customer that comes aboard with us kicks butt. And they kick butt. Yeah, our ideas are great, blah, blah, blah. But they kick butt because the culture we have internally is we want you to kick butt. We view losing as a really bad thing. We're obsessed with winning just as much for your business as we are our own. And you say to yourself today, today's about the unfortunate incident with Boyd Whitlock losing his office manager, Stephanie. When they had the funeral, Eric Field drove from Nebraska over to Arkansas for the funeral and was there representing the new patient group family. Nobody asked him to. Eric Field took it upon himself to make a presence shown because of how close we are with our customers and how saddened we are, but we wanted to support Boyd. We wanted to support his team, and we wanted at least one team member there. And Eric Field got in his car and drove there and drove back. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't expect anything. Did it because he truly loves the Whitlock team. Did it because he truly loves New Patient Group. Did it because it was the right thing to do. Did it because he knew that he would have a positive impact on the lives of people that were extremely saddened based on, again, the unfortunate situation with Steph. I think equally and probably even more, what's the word? Unexpected, I guess, came from Haley Jeffrey. For those of you who do digital marketing with us, everybody loves Haley. Gosh, I hate you for that, Haley. Everyone loves you. But everyone loves you. And that makes me just so joyful that everybody just likes you so much. And they like you because they know that you have their best interest at heart. They know that you're going to do whatever it takes to help them succeed in the digital marketing side. And that is something I'm proud of just from a culture standpoint of what we've created here as a company. What did Haley do? Haley goes and on her own puts together, and this is online, by the way. You can check it out on Boyd Whitlock's YouTube station. And all of you out there, by the way, when you go to our customers' YouTube station, subscribe, like their videos, interact with their videos, thumbs them up, give them a like, support each other out there. So when you go there, make sure to do that. But it's on it's on the Whitlock YouTube station. And did this tribute to Stephanie and put together, all these pictures. And we had a lot of them because we do their social media and we do all their digital marketing. So we had a lot of content. But it's not like the content was designed to create a memorial type tribute, right? It's like you're not expecting that to happen. So there was just an extraordinary amount of work that Haley did on her own, not asked. We didn't expect it. She did it because culturally what we have here is our customers are family, and we're going to do whatever it takes to surprise them. We're going to do whatever it takes for them to succeed. We truly love all of you out there. And that culture is now being just carried out so well by our team. And it just makes me so freaking proud that she would go out there and create something as in-depth, as long, because this thing I know took her a long time to find, and how she interacted the pictures to come into the slideshow and the music and all this great stuff was not an easy thing for her to put together. And I hope what I'm talking about today, I thought I would do one that is somewhat off the cuff, but something that a lot of you have to ask yourself, would your employees do that for you on behalf of one of your patients that you unexpectedly lost? Would one of them drive hours upon hours with their own fuel, bill, and put miles in the car to show a presence of your practice at that family's funeral? Would they put together a memorial from maybe some content, maybe some photos that you got together for social media with that patient? Would they do that? And the unfortunate answer for a lot of you out there is probably not. And it doesn't mean that your culture stinks. It doesn't mean that. It simply means that that's why you've got more roadblocks and more barriers to knock down to get to a point where your employees will do whatever it takes for your customers, for your patients, no matter how hard it is, no matter how hard, how late they have to stay up, no matter maybe they're not going to make more, but they're going to work twice as hard. That's the culture that whenever you hire somebody and they come in, the employees are going to do it. And if they don't do it, you're going to have your rock star employees get on the backs of the ones that are lagging behind and say, get your you-know-what together or you're out of here. Right? Do you have that type of culture? And that's the culture you should be striving for. You should be coachable. You should be curious. You should be wanting to implement new things. You should be always looking to change and implement new great stuff. You should always be the first to role play. You should always be the first to stumble through your words in a role play. You should be the first to show you're coachable. And as you do that over time, you commit to getting rid of the people that just aren't going to work for your organization and making those moves fast and making sure you're locking up your rock stars with pay that they're not going to get anywhere else. Those are the things that are going to inevitably create the situation where if something tragic happens to one of your customers, your team is going to be right by their side to help impact their lives. And of course, we don't know, with Eric driving to the funeral and Haley going above and beyond to do this slideshow to pay tribute to Stephanie at her funeral. How much it's appreciated, we don't know. We think it's appreciated greatly. And if, we'll tell you, as long as it impacted one life there at that funeral, it's more than worth it. But we know it impacted them. And if it shed any kind of positivity on an extremely negative, difficult situation, we know it was worth it. The better your culture, the more you're going to impact the lives of other people. You're going to be better for your customers because your team is going to be better implementers at what you want when you're not looking. For years, if Boyd Whitlock's office manager would have passed away 7 years ago, I didn't have any team members 7-8 years ago that would have gone to the funeral. I would have been the one that went. And it's not that I don't want to go, but the reality is Eric just jumped up and said, I'm going, right? And Haley jumped up and said, I'm going to put this thing together for the funeral. So many, many years ago, I didn't have team members around that would have ever done those things, right? And it doesn't mean it was a failure. It meant that there was more work to do. There was more roadblocks to knock down. There were more things to become a better leader, a better culture builder. some things I needed to refine, because a lot of the things that I wanted then, it's the same now, but how we're implementing them and how I am from a leadership standpoint, I'm better. I just am. Not perfect. Never will be. I don't think I even want to be. That sounds boring to be perfect. But I think we all should strive to be. And all of you out there should strive to be, because you're going to help your patients. That could be your receptionist converting somebody on a new patient call that they otherwise might not have, because they implemented our training or someone else's training better, so they converted somebody that they otherwise would have lost. They come in, buy from you, you transform their life, they get a better job, whatever. Maybe they meet somebody and fall in love that maybe that person wouldn't have been attracted to them with their teeth how they were prior. There's so many different ways. Over on the Right Chat side, Right Chat didn't get a chance. I talk about this to the Right Chat team a lot. New patient group got a chance to fail, and many chances to fail, because as we were failing, and I wouldn't say failing, but as we were just screwing things up, and it was more the coaching side's always been really good, but it's way better, even that side's way better today than it was years ago for obvious reasons, but it was more the digital marketing side. It just took time. We hired designers, got rid of them, hired SEO people, got rid of them, hired social media people, got rid of them, because I refuse to have it be like everybody else out there. Not going to do it. We are the best. I am very proud of it, and I am proud to tell all of you we are the best. There's nobody better on the coaching side and the digital marketing side. And the number one reason, again, going back to the culture, but it was also, again, the constant commitment to getting rid of people until we found the right ones. But as we were having those setbacks, nobody knew who we were. Right now, new patient group, and we're still not in the scheme of things well known, but we're out there. We're one of the bigger players in the orthodontic space and in other industries as well. But again, our main focus, orthodontics. But now the reputation is impeccable because of all the hard work that we put in to make sure inside our doors was great. Right Chat didn't get that chance because I'm on stage for Invisalign and dental monitoring and OrthoFi, and because new patient group is what it is now. When Right Chat was launched, Right Chat kind of was known overnight, right? It's still not known on a grand scale because neither is new patient group, but Right Chat was known very quick without any advertising dollars, and our original business model was a disaster. It was terrible. The original business model was we were going to answer all your calls, new and existing, right? And all that happened was, and we didn't know how much to charge for it, so we threw out a number. We found out we couldn't make money. The influx of calls was too high. The agents were over-inundated. It was a disaster. And what most people do is either quit or they're too hard-headed and they keep going and they don't care about the receptionist experience or the customer experience. And I said, no way in hell am I ever going to be a part of an organization that treats people this way and offers this kind of service. So we waxed it, revamped it, and it is what it is now. We answer your new patient calls as your emergency backup, remote in, schedule them, speak as your employee. Or where you're a primary, answer all your new patient calls and plug an even bigger leaky hole when we're the primary, right? And it's beautiful. People don't leave. We've lost 3 customers since implementing that new business model. They're all back, right? They're all back. And the model's beautiful. Nothing's flawless. Everything needs refinement all the time. That's business. But the reality is it's pretty damn flawless, right? But a lot of what new patient group worked on for so many years culturally and the way I made mistakes from a leadership standpoint, I was able to not have to go through that burden with Right Chat, right? I kind of took what I knew worked on the new patient group side, and we implemented that on the culture side with Right Chat. And what it has is that we have unbelievable agents that want to do a great job, that are truly making an impact because they're convert higher than any of your receptionists ever will. They're answering calls you otherwise would have missed and bought somewhere else and remoting your software and scheduling them. And they're doing it at such a high level. And I'm not saying that again. This is not about us today, even though it is. This is, again, the impact the Right Chat agents are able to have on all of you that are customers because of the culture. Again, does it make us more money because you stay? Of course it does, but that isn't the reason. That's the organic result. Just like your production, your collections, your new patients. All of that is simply an organic result of all the time you put in, knocking those roadblocks over, overcoming difficult situations. And Boyd Whitlock, dude, you and your Whitlock family, you're going to overcome this one. We're going to be right by your side doing whatever it takes, both with MPG and with Right Chat, to help you thrive in the most difficult of times. I hope today inspired all of you out there. It was not something that I even planned on. It wasn't even on my notes because this just recently happened when she passed away. So it's not like this was on the podcast notes that I talk about all the time. This was a very off-the-cuff episode. If it's the first time you've ever listened to the podcast, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're a long-time listener, either one of you, I hope this inspires you to realize what exceptional leadership and extraordinary culture can do. Of course, for you individually as a business owner and as a team, but inevitably the real reason is what it can do to impact the lives of others. And there's so many different ways to do that, right? If you straighten teeth, that's a way to do it. If like what Haley did or what Eric did, like that impacts the lives of people in a different way, making people more money, whatever it is, there's ways, multiple ways to impact the lives of other people through committing to exceptional culture and being a great leader. I hope you enjoyed today. Shout out Boyd Whitlock. I appreciate your loyalty to Right Chat and New Patient Group, your friendship. I miss you, man. Everything's going to be okay. For all of you out there, strive to be better leaders the rest of this year. Set the tone for an exceptional culture. We're happy to help with that. Make sure to give us a great review on the podcast. Bye, everybody. Until next time, thanks for your loyal following. Appreciate it so much. Kick butt out there. Take great care of your patients and your team. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Brian Wright. Thank you so much for listening, and please visit newpatientgroup.com/free courses to get our latest on-demand video trainings for free. These are shot in 4K, exceptional quality, and we really want you to test out our content. So just go to newpatientgroup.com/free courses, sign up, and you'll learn some really amazing things. We would also like to answer your new patient phone calls with my company, Right Chat. We can be the primary and answer all of them, or we can be your saving grace, where the ones you miss, we will answer them as we're sitting at your front desk, your own employee, remotely log into your software and schedule that new patient, and they never even know a third party answered. It's a revolutionizing the answering service industry and honestly made call services and answering services completely obsolete because nobody will leave a message in this new economy. So if you use a call center or an answering service, switch to Right Chat as a game changer. We'll do it for 2 months free. We have our own in-house IT team that will hook everything up for you. Your software, your phones, your phone number, you don't have to change anything. The onboarding is simple. We make sure that process is streamlined. And when you hear my agents answer that new patient call, you're never going to want your own team to do it. And it'll be a great training when you listen to us. We'll be a great training to get your own people trained as well. Okay, so look forward to helping you out. I ask that you please write a 5-star review about the New Patient Group podcast on Apple or wherever you're listening to the podcast. And also write a 5-star review about New Patient Group and Right Chat online. That would really help us out. If you're watching on YouTube, give a thumbs up to the video, subscribe to our channel, put some comments in there how much you like it. And I would personally like to offer you your own free business and practice consultation with me so we can chat about your business and I can personally prescribe something that is really going to help you thrive in this new economy of competition, commoditization, and consumerism. Once again, thanks for your support. We'll see everybody soon. Bye-bye.